today's display is a request from Belgium, from Portsmouth Delta. Then we've got one of the Royal Navy marked airplanes from the Navy Wings Heritage Flight at Wilmington. Then the SR of the co-owners of old Hockey Peter Earth and his family, WK522 in silver with yellow bands and with the 6 squadron on the tail. And then another two with all the yellow. So a little further round at this time is the distinctive back to the later civilian mark in the formation of the Belgian LA Corporation and also doing such aviation to start to push out the collection of the tanks and the super recent stirring sight indeed. They'll be returning to us once again en masse. But now the three Portuguese airplanes
contained within the aircraft now coming back through from the right, the Chipmunk formation once again. Craft, of course, brought together with pilots who, in many cases, don't often fly in formation together, even if some of them do regularly.
Indeed, yeah, this is a terrific gathering. I think it's working out fabulously well. I'm slightly envious that I'm not up there with them, but it does show these chipmunks are host to a great deal of skill and training, and you'll put a lot of commitment into it.
Yeah.
And if I might add, actually, having said what a beautiful handling aircraft they are, the way the Portuguese did their braking landing was particularly energetic, dynamic, and that's just what is so much fun about chipmunks.
The rear section is then breaking away to land to leave the right line. Now separated out slightly. On the downwind leg before they come into land. And here come the Portuguese flying the national flag from the first aircraft past. Thank you so much to the Air Force Academy, which often tends to be slightly forgotten, but it started with number 114 Squadron in Cyprus in 1958-59 in efforts to counter the Greek separatist movement EOKA, which was mounting an insurgency campaign on the island. They flew visual reconnaissances with army observers in the rear seat. They flew convoy escorts, mail drops, and low inside some very deep Cypriot valleys. In those circumstances, the agility of the Chipmunk was a real boon. And then, more famously, there was the RAF Gatow station flight in West Berlin during the city's years of division. Started operating Chipmunks in 1950 to provide refresher training for pilots in desk jobs in Berlin. But in reality, it was a photographic reconnaissance operation on behalf of Brixmis, the British Commanders-in-Chief mission to the Soviet forces in Germany, exploiting the Allied rights to fly within the Berlin control zone, including the eastern half, and using that opportunity to observe and photograph Soviet military installations in the city and around its periphery, and they achieved some quite astonishing intelligence memorial flight, and the other, appropriately, is back at its old base at Gatow in the Militär Historisches Museum there. Vasco Lamprea, the number 2 in that formation, was flown by Lieutenant Colonel Ariel Abreu, and number 3 by Lieutenant Colonel Pedro Andrade. Trained many members of the royal family to fly, including the current king, and there's a very local connection to that, because many of his 101 training flights in that very aeroplane including his first solo, were conducted from airfields in the Cambridge area while he was studying at Trinity College. His first solo was actually from Bassingbourn. The crosswind was out of limits for it at Oakington, his main training base, on the 14th of January 1969. And the DHC-1B models here with the other one from the Fliegenmuseum Sepper, available for close-up inspection in the static display. As the aircraft from those initial waves all now shut down and the first 9 from the formation come into land, all of them using the grass runway. At the conclusion of what I think has been a very suitable 80 years of the Chipmunk. Let's credit all the other pilots who took part in that quite brilliant formation. We had Tony De Bruyn, Eric Brannan, Paul Farmer, Dave Ratcliffe last minute with an aircraft kindly provided by Andy Phone very late on in the planning, John Beattie, Simon Tenney.